The desert sun doesn't play fair. You're already 2 hours into a roadside fix, and the asphalt beneath your knees feels like a skillet set to boil. Your van, rusted teal with more stickers than paint, sits with the hood propped open like a tired jaw. You mutter under your breath, wiping grease onto already stained jeans. El Paso doesn't forgive mechanical errors. Not in July. Not in a strip mall parking lot with no shade, no wind, and one stubborn alternator that decided to die 3 states too early. You're not dressed to impress, black tank top, camo cargo pants, no makeup. You're not thinking about optics, Instagram, or even water, which you ran out of 45 minutes ago. You're thinking about socket wrenches. About talk. About how no one around has even looked twice, except for the teenager who offered you a Red Bull out of pity. Then you hear it. Boots. That unmistakable cadence of slow, deliberate footfalls, rhythmic, measured, authoritative. Not heavy, just decided. You straighten instinctively, head brushing the van's hood. Your first thought, not again. Your second, stay calm. You turn and there he stands, late 60s, pressed blues, silver clusters on his collar, hat tucked under his arm, clean-shaven, stone posture. Everything about him says general. Everything about you says heat-stroke survivor. He doesn't speak. He just looks. And then his eyes flick down. You follow his gaze and remember, your tank top is loose on the right shoulder. The tattoo peeks out, not flashy, not modern. Faded black ink, just a curved eagle wing above a sword wrapped in flame. Old school. Older than you. The insignia of a unit no longer discussed outside dark corners of vet bars and classified after-action briefings. You've forgotten you even had it showing. But he hasn't. You move to cover it, suddenly aware, maybe even defensive. But before your hand can reach the strap, he salutes. Full form, chin high, hand to brow. The kind of salute they reserve for Arlington ceremonies and Medal of Honor processions. You freeze. This wasn't supposed to happen. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Drop your city and local time in the comments below. Let's see who's tuning in and when. Because what happens next? Rewrites everything. You lower the wrench. Stand straighter. He drops his salute slowly, then takes a small step forward. Where'd you serve? He asks. Not harshly, not interrogating. Just curious. You tilt your head. Afghanistan, Helmand, 2011 to 2013. He nods slowly like he's reviewing a mental file. Then that tattoo, dagger flame? You swallow. Yeah, ghost unit, 3rd Recon, blackout ops. We weren't official. Not really. I know, he says. I was the one who reviewed your after-action reports. You all weren't just unofficial. You were ghosts for a reason. You don't know whether to smile or hide. That unit was classified until it wasn't, buried in redacted paperwork and whispered into military archives like a half-finished story. Your team operated in the grey. Hostage retrievals, convoys into unmarked territory, 0 air support. You lost 2 soldiers in one night and never saw their names on public rolls. He speaks again. I lost a friend in that unit, Captain Melina Ross. Your eyes widen. Mel? She was my CO. I know. She was my niece. The heat around you suddenly feels heavier, not from the sun, but from the past pressing its full weight onto your shoulders. I didn't know you were related, you say quietly. No one did, he replies. It was safer that way. You both fall silent. Behind you, the van makes a soft ticking noise as metal cools. A Walmart truck rumbles across the far side of the lot. But here, in this 6-foot bubble, it's just 2 soldiers from different wars, different decades, bound by one inked insignia and a name carried in memory. He looks back at the tattoo. Most people wouldn't recognize that. I know, you say. Most people think it's fantasy art. He smiles, a real one this time. They're not entirely wrong. Then he does something unexpected. He reaches into his jacket, pulls out a thin laminated card and hands it to you. It's a list. Names, dates, places you don't say aloud unless you're in a secure room. At the bottom, dagger flame honor roll. Maintained quietly by those who still remember. I keep it updated, he says, just in case someone someday shows up who deserves to be added. You scan the list. Your name's already there. I never expected to see this, you whisper. I never expected to see you, he says. Let alone fixing a van in the desert. You both laugh, short, dry, honest. He nods again, slower this time. Carry on, Sergeant. And then he turns, walks away, boots clicking across the asphalt like punctuation marks on a sentence you didn't know needed finishing. You watch him disappear into a black SUV. No flags, no fanfare, just silence. You stand there, wrench still in hand, tattoo still exposed, heart louder than the sun above you. And then the teenager from earlier reappears. "Hey, was that like a real general?" You nod slowly. He looks at your arm, then back at the SUV, then back at you. "Cool," he says, then offers another Red Bull and walks off. You open the can, take a sip. The van isn't fixed, but somehow everything else feels a little less broken. You don't drive the van that day. The alternator's still shot, the tools are scattered, and your mind is somewhere 3 years and 6,000 miles away. Instead, you sit on the curb with your knees up, sipping from the half-warm Red Bull and staring at your shoulder like it just came to life. That tattoo has always been yours, silent, shaded, buried under years of sweat and grit. Until today, it was just a personal relic, a memorial. Now it's an open door. You replay the moment, the crisp salute, his voice when he said, "Carry on," the way he seemed to know more about your deployment than most of your own chain of command ever did. And that list, your name already typed in. Someone remembered you. That thought sticks harder than any rank, any medal, any thank you for your service from a passing stranger. Someone kept track. Not of headlines or awards, but of the ghosts who did the dirty work without applause. You pocket the card carefully, folding it once and tucking it behind your license. Just holding it makes your hand feel steadier. The sun is slipping west when a man in khakis and a shaved head strolls past with his daughter. He slows, glances at the van and says, "Need a jump?" You shake your head. "No juice problem, just a busted alternator." He chuckles. "Been there. You got roadside?" "I got stubbornness," you say. He laughs and moves on. His daughter, maybe 6, waves. Later that night, you finally call a tow. It takes an hour to show up, so you scroll your phone to pass the time. Your fingers hover over the camera roll. You swipe through photos, some blurry shots from Afghanistan, most of them unmarked. You land on one with Ross, Mel, smiling in that rare, quiet way of hers, taken 2 weeks before that mission, the one that changed everything. You haven't looked at this photo in years. You're still staring at it when the tow truck arrives. The driver, a bearded guy in his 40s, hops down and glances at the van, then at you. "Rough day? Could have been worse. Could have been better too," he replies. He doesn't ask what you do, doesn't care why you're dressed like you walked out of an army surplus catalogue, just hooks up the van and motions you toward the cab. Inside, it smells like beef jerky and dashboard heat. He starts the truck, then squints at your shoulder as you adjust your seatbelt. "That real ink?" You glance down, forgetting for a second that the tank top still leaves it visible. "Yeah, it's a unit tattoo." "Dagger flame?" he asks. "Thought that was made up. I had a buddy talk about it once. Sounded like some CIA ghost story." You blink. "Where'd your buddy serve?" "Kunar, 2012. You feel your pulse jump. You stare at him. "What was his name?" "Cortez, Manuel Cortez." You sit forward. "Cortez was in my squad." The driver's eyes widen. "No way." "He was the last guy to make it out on the helipad the night Ross went down." "Dude, he told me that story a dozen times. I thought he was making it up." You shake your head. He wasn't. He said there was a woman commander who covered his exit, stayed behind, swore she saved his life. You nod. "That was Ross." "Jesus," he mutters. "You were there?" You don't answer. You don't have to. He drives in silence for a while, the road unrolling like an old film reel. Then he says, "You ever talk to him?" "No contact since 2015. Last I heard he was off-grid. PTSD got bad." He glances at you. "He's online now, started a forum last year for vets with invisible clearance. You want the link?" You hesitate. Then, yeah. He texts it to you, a URL with a scrambled domain and a bland name that means nothing to civilians. You recognize the style. Classic digital camouflage, public face, hidden content. You scroll through the landing page later that night at the motel. It asks for 2-step verification, a unit passphrase and a rotating code. You still remember yours, burned in from so many cold briefings. It lets you in. And there on the home feed is a thread titled, "Who else remembers Ross?" You open it. The first post is short. "She bought me 12 more years. I owe her everything. MC." The comments below are long, raw, unfiltered. Vets from other branches, private contractors, even medics. All paying tribute to a ghost no one outside the service would ever recognize. You comment too. Just one sentence. I was there the night she didn't come back. Within an hour, someone replies, "5K, is it really you?" More messages pour in, some short, some grateful, some just silent emojis, salutes, dog tags, the black candle emoji used for lost comrades. You stare at the screen, breath shallow. For the first time in years, your service isn't a secret. Your pain isn't alone. Your ink isn't just a memory, it's a marker. And across the country in a Pentagon office you'll never see again, a retired general stares at his copy of the honor roll. He adds 3 names that night. One of them is yours. You don't sleep that night. Not from nightmares, not from noise, from the sheer weight of reconnection, from names you haven't seen in a decade suddenly blinking on your phone, your tablet, your inbox, like someone lit a match in a long-sealed bunker. By 2 a.m., the forum messages are coming faster than you can read. Someone from your second recon deployment shares a grainy photo of your squad sitting under the rotor shadow of a Chinook. There you are, squinting into the sun, hand on Ross's shoulder. You'd forgotten that moment. And now it's flashing across screens in Colorado, Kentucky, Okinawa. Cortez messages you. "Sergeant K, I still hear her voice. Still hear yours too." You pause before replying. "We never had the funeral she deserved." He responds instantly. "We do now. Let's make it loud." The next morning you're at a diner off I-10. Eggs untouched. Coffee going cold. You're halfway through a news article on your phone when the waitress taps your arm. "Are you the woman from the video?" You blink. "What video?" She holds up her phone. A blurry, zoomed-in clip. The general, the salute, your tattoo. Somebody filmed the moment from across the parking lot, and now it's online. Captioned, "General Honor's Forgotten Hero." Already 500,000 views. Your stomach tightens, not from fear, from visibility. The waitress beams. "Thank you for your service. My dad was a vet. He'd have loved this." You nod, overwhelmed, unsure what to say. You never wanted viral. You just wanted your alternator to work. Outside, the van still sits on the flatbed at the mechanics. You're not even mad anymore. That thing forced a moment that couldn't have been planned. And now the internet is having opinions. Veterans still argue. A long-standing Reddit thread opens a new topic. Female vet receives salute. Real or performance? The comments are split. She earned it. That tattoo? Old school recon, respect. No one salutes in a Walmart parking lot unless it's PR. Look up Dagger Flame, it's real. My uncle did 6 ops under that unit. I'll believe it when I see her DD-214. You close the tab. You've fought enough ghosts. You're not about to wrestle internet trolls for validation. But the algorithm doesn't care. The video hits 1.2 million views by noon. Someone overlays it with emotional music. Others remix it. Someone photoshops your tattoo into a Captain America-style emblem. You get a call. Unknown number. You answer. A gravel voice says, "Is this Sergeant K?" "Who's asking?" "Colonel Delaney. Retired. I taught your recon tactics course at Pendleton. Saw the tattoo on my feed this morning and just about spit my coffee. You still walk like you're clearing corners." You laugh. You still sound like a field radio in a thunderstorm. You always were sharp with the comebacks. Then he gets serious. "You've stirred something, kid. Veterans are calling into stations, asking questions, talking about the ones we lost, about recognition, about what it means to salute someone who never stood on a podium." "I didn't mean to start anything," you say. "That's the thing," he replies. "Most of us never do." Later, you're invited onto a podcast, Combat Quietly, hosted by a former ranger turned social worker. You agree reluctantly, unsure if you're ready. But once the mic's on, the words pour out. You talk about Ross, about Cortez, about the tattoo you almost laser removed after 3 years of being questioned more than thanked, and about that one moment, a general, a broken-down van, and a salute that somehow echoed louder than a gunshot. The podcast hits the top 10 on Apple that week. That night, another name appears in your inbox. "Hope this isn't weird. I'm Mel's younger sister. I recognized your tattoo in the video that she used to sketch it in her letters." You read the message 3 times before replying. She writes again. "We never got closure. They said it was classified. No body, no flag, just silence." You sit with that. Silence is something you've known intimately, carried like a second skin, but now it feels like the walls are cracking. You reply, "I was there. I can tell you everything, when you're ready." She is. You spend 3 hours on a call with her, walking through Mel's final mission, her final laugh, her final orders. You cry together. Not like strangers, like people building a bridge across memory. And then she says something you won't forget. I used to wonder if Mel died invisible, but now strangers know her story. That means she lives again. That hits you harder than any medal. By the next week, a local reporter calls asking for a follow-up. You decline. But the general doesn't. He gives a brief statement. Sometimes honor lives not in headlines, but in actions. That woman earned a salute long before I saw her ink. It airs on national news. Short clip, long impact. Vet groups start circulating old dagger flame photos, redacting names but sharing stories. A documentary producer reaches out. You ignore the message. Some stories are better lived than filmed, but the forums, the threads, the conversations at diners, mechanic shops, town halls, they grow. Your tattoo becomes more than a mark. It becomes a symbol of sacrifice, of the forgotten, of a promise kept by strangers who didn't know they needed to see you until they did. And one night, sitting under a street lamp with the van finally humming like new, you look down at your arm and whisper, "You did good, Ross." They remember now. Show your ink trends on veteran Twitter, then Instagram, then TikTok. A Marine with a full chest piece of his fallen unit. A medic with a wrist tattoo of her old unit's blood type registry. A Vietnam vet with a fading eagle tattoo from 1968. One clip goes viral. A young woman sitting on a porch, rolling up her sleeve to reveal the same dagger flame tattoo as yours. She says, "They told me it was a myth. They told me I was a myth. Then I saw her, and I knew. Ghosts don't stay buried." By week's end, someone from Stars and Stripes reaches out. They want to run a full piece on the rise of tattoo identity in the military, how post-9/11 vets used ink to grieve, to remember, to resist invisibility. You agree to talk, but only if Ross is the focus. They agree. The piece runs with the headline, "The Ghost Unit That Wouldn't Die." It's the most read article of the month. But as with all things online, not everyone is applauding. Veterans still argue fires up again. A faction starts debating authenticity. Everyone's suddenly got a dagger flame story. How convenient. I smell stolen valor. Let's see credentials. The woman in the video is probably just another TikTok clout chaser. You consider responding. Then you don't. Because just as fast as the doubt rises, the defense rises faster. One commenter shares a scan of the original unit insignia request. Another posts a declassified mission map, circles your squad's op zone. Another drops a blurry but unmistakable team photo from 2012. You're there. Ross is too. And then the counterpunch, a statement released by the Department of Defense's archival office. It reads, "While dagger flame operations remain partially classified, the department acknowledges the existence of the unit, its actions during 2010-2014 and the personnel involved. Recognition is owed to those who served without visibility. Their contributions are no less vital." You read it 3 times. The military just confirmed a ghost unit. They just confirmed you. Not that you needed their permission, but the truth, in black and white, tastes sweet after a decade of silence. Your inbox fills again, not with strangers, with family. One message reads, "I'm the son of Sayat Malik. He died on your op. I didn't know any of you were still around. Thank you." Another, "I saw your story. I've been afraid to admit I served in blackout. My wife didn't even know. You gave me back my voice." Another still, "I named my kid Ross. Didn't think anyone would get it. Now people ask, and I tell them." You sit on the hood of your van reading each one, letting them hit, one by one, like healing shots. But the biggest twist comes in a short, shaky video posted by a retired master sergeant. He's standing at the foot of a grave in a military cemetery. There's no headstone, just a marker number. He turns the camera. "I requested an update. After 11 years, Mel Ross will get her official marker next month. Section 76, row C. If you served with her, come." You don't think twice. You pack the van, gas up, drive across 4 states, and when you arrive that morning, the parking lot is full. Full of vans, bikes, trucks, people walking in with patches, photos, folded flags, some in suits, some in battle-worn denim, some with canes. One guy with a prosthetic leg wrapped in the American flag. A small podium waits near the site. An officer speaks briefly, just the basics. Then they ask if anyone from Dagger Flame would like to speak. You walk up slowly, and then you tell them what you've never told anyone, not even Ross's sister. You tell them about the last mission. The ambush, the retreat, The way Ross covered the rear, took the high ground, and gave the order no one wanted to hear. Leave me. Secure the rest. You tell them how you waited, how you fought to go back, how her voice in your ear said, you make it home, you make it matter. You end with this: she didn't die for a flag. She didn't die for politics. She died for us, so we could live, so we could fix vans and raise kids and have messy ink on our shoulders that people might finally see. The crowd goes silent. Not stiff, not stoic, still, reverent. Then one by one they salute. No orders, no bugle. Just a sea of hands raised toward the woman who once ordered you to survive. Later, as you trace your fingers along the fresh marker, you whisper, "It mattered, Mel. You mattered." And for the first time, the weight on your chest isn't grief. It's honor. You don't post about the ceremony. You don't tag anyone. You don't need to. The story already has its own legs, moving in a dozen directions at once. But something shifts afterward. It's quiet, subtle, but unmistakable. At your next gas station stop, the clerk behind the counter notices your ink and says, "That's the Ross unit, right?" You raise an eyebrow. He grins. "My cousin served, told me all about her, told me you're one of the reasons he made it home." You thank him and walk out stunned, not because he recognized the tattoo, because he knew her name. You start noticing it everywhere. Little nods, respectful silence. The kind that veterans don't always get, especially not women, especially not ones who served under shadows. Someone sends you a photo from a Navy base in San Diego. A wall mural, eagle wing, flame-wrapped sword, the words, "Ghosts never fade." The image is unmistakable. The caption reads, "Inspired by the salute." Another email, a schoolteacher in Pennsylvania says her 8th graders chose to write essays on invisible heroes. 3 of them chose you. You reread the message 3 times. And then the twist. A private message on the forum. Username BitterVet77. Subject line, "We need to talk." You click it, heart already bracing. The message is short. "You don't know me, but I know Ross. I was there at the edge of it. I saw what really happened." You reply cautiously. You've been burned before. The next message comes with attachments, scans of old field maps, photos you've never seen. One blurry frame of Ross holding what looks like a burned-out comms unit. You recognize the terrain. You recognize yourself in the corner of one photo, half crouched, weapon up. This isn't a fake. Bittervet turns out to be Sergeant Marcus Hale, logistics runner attached to a British recon team operating nearby. He'd never come forward. He wasn't supposed to be there. Wrong sector, wrong chain of command. He's been sitting on the truth for years. He writes, "They told me to forget what I saw, but I never could. She saved more than just your unit. She rerouted a drone strike, she blocked a second wave, and she called in a decoy to buy you time. I never even knew her name until now." You shake your head. All this time, the story was even bigger than you remembered. You write back, "Why come forward now?" He responds, "Because it finally feels safe to be honest, because someone made people listen." You sit with that. It's heavy, but not burdensome. More like armor. That weekend, a panel at a veterans symposium asks you to speak. Not about tactics, about truth. You agree, but only if the panel includes others. Ross's sister, Cortez, the tattooed woman from Instagram, even Sergeant Hale via video call. The panel sells out. People stand along the back wall. Press is there, but quiet, respectful. No flashy angles, just real interest. You listen as Ross's sister reads from one of Mel's old letters. Cortez breaks down when talking about his survivor's guilt. Hale speaks from his cottage in Wales, voice cracking as he says, "We weren't supposed to talk, but maybe silence was the real mistake." Then it's your turn. You look out at the faces, scarred, tired, hopeful. You say, "We thought we were forgotten. Turns out we were just waiting to be remembered right." The applause is long, not loud, lasting. Afterward, a colonel in the audience pulls you aside. He says, "You've made people rethink what legacy looks like." You smile. "I'm not building a legacy. I'm just uncovering one." He laughs. "Well, whatever you call it, it's working." The next morning, you're back in your van, gear in the back, GPS off. You drive without a destination for a few hours, letting the highway carry you. You stop at a rest area, stretch your legs, and find a bench. It's quiet. A breeze lifts your hair. For the first time in months, you breathe without checking your 6. You pull out your notebook. It's not for speeches or op-eds, just for her. You write, "Ross, we did it. They see you now. They salute you now. And maybe, just maybe, we can finally come home." You tear the page out, fold it, slide it into a hollow behind the bench. Not for anyone else, just you and maybe her. Later that week, the military base in your hometown hosts a memorial service. They ask if they can name a new training facility after Ross. You nod. The ceremony is simple. A wall plaque, her insignia, the words, Major Melina Ross, Unit Dagger Flame, status never forgotten. Kids ask about her now. Cadets study her tactics. Veterans visit the site and leave challenge coins by the wall. One Marine leaves a faded photo. The caption reads, You saved my brother. This is what he became. And you. You keep driving. Keep fixing the van. Keep talking when people ask. But now the story doesn't weigh on you like it used to. Now it carries you. You don't wear the tank top much anymore, not because of shame, not because of attention, but because now you don't have to explain the tattoo. People already know, or they ask with reverence instead of suspicion. The van's fixed, inside and out. Engine purrs steady now, patched in part with spare parts and in part with the kindness of strangers who just wanted to say thanks. A mechanic in Tucson refused payment. A retired Army couple in Oklahoma handed you a fuel card with tears in their eyes. This is for Mel, they said. You try to stay humble. Try to remember the mission hasn't changed. Be visible, tell the truth, carry her name the way she once carried you. Then the call comes. The general, the one who saluted you, who started all this without a single word, reaches out again. This time it's official. There's a proposal going through the Department of Veterans Affairs, he says. They want to create a recognition initiative for unacknowledged units. Real service, real sacrifice, just never on paper. You pause. And? They want you to help design it. You let out a slow breath. They want me in a suit sitting in DC talking policy. They want you wherever you'll be most effective. You think about it. About heat-blasted parking lots, blurry photos, folded-up cards tucked in wallets, and comments that used to start with, prove it. You think about Ross, about Cortez, about Bitter Vet 77 and the people who stood in the back of the crowd just to hear someone say her name out loud. You say yes. You fly to Washington with a single carry-on bag. When you arrive at the briefing room, it's full. Congress staffers, Pentagon reps, Gold Star parents, and a few quiet figures from places they won't list. You're not the most decorated person in the room, but for once, you're the voice everyone came to hear. The general introduces you with one line. Sergeant K reminded us that ghosts only fade when we stop remembering. You speak from the heart. No teleprompter, no drama. You talk about watching Ross stand her ground, about tattoos as protest, about what it's like to bury your story under civilian silence, and what it's like to see someone lift it up. You say, the battlefield doesn't end at the border. Sometimes it follows you home and sits in your passenger seat. We don't need medals for that, we need recognition. By the end, they're not clapping for show. They're clapping because someone finally put it into words. The policy initiative moves forward. Soon after, the VA launches a voluntary archive, the unseen record. Vets submit their stories, anonymous if they choose, optional verification, but always a place to be heard. And then comes the final twist. You're at a truck stop near the Mississippi border, stretching your legs, refueling, when a woman approaches you quietly, mid-40s, with a nervous smile. I think my brother was in your unit, she says. He disappeared in 12. All I ever got was a box of his gear and a silence I couldn't explain. You feel your throat catch. Name, she tells you. You remember it instantly. He was the comm specialist. Left behind his boots so you could use the radio battery. You put your hand on her shoulder. I remember him. She starts crying. Not loudly. Just, finally. You sit with her on the curb. You tell her what he did, what he meant, the jokes he told, how he saved 2 lives with one action. You leave her with a coin, your last one, pressed into her hand. On it, truth is the only medal I need. She promises to tell her kids. You get back in the van, drive west. A week later, you're passing through that same dusty city where it all began. The van rolls slow through the strip mall lot. It's quieter now. The summer heat has faded, and near the spot where the general first stood, a new bench. Steel brushed clean, on the backrest etched into the metal, to those who served in silence and those who finally saw them. No names, just space. And a small engraving beneath the corner of the bench, a flame-wrapped sword and an eagle's wing. You park for a while. No need to say anything, just sit. Watch the sun crawl westward, watch strangers pass by, some pausing, some nodding, some saluting. You don't need to stand. They've already seen you. They see all of you now. The light softens around you now. You've travelled far, not just by road, not just by mission, but through layers of memory, silence and rediscovery. The van hums quietly, no longer a burden but a companion. The sky burns low with soft gold, the kind that only happens at the end of stories worth remembering. You sit with the quiet, not to escape the noise, but to honour what it revealed. Somewhere out there, more names will surface, more truths. More people like Ross, like Cortez, like the woman who rolled up her sleeve just to feel less alone. This isn't the end of the journey, it's just one marker on the map. And maybe that's all we ever needed. A place to rest, to reflect, and to know that what we carried mattered. So if you've been walking with me through this story, thank you for seeing it, for holding space for it. And if you've served, if you've lost, or if you've simply remembered, you're part of this. Because stories like this don't live on medals or walls. They live on hearts. They live in you. So take a moment, hit like, share your thoughts, subscribe if you believe in truth with a heartbeat, and wherever you are tonight, may you rest easy. The ghosts are at peace now.